Hi everyone, welcome back, and today I'm going to be doing what if China decides to form an empire. So with now China becoming imperial, the first thing that they would try to do is try to get Taiwan back. So they declare the war. Oh, and also I'm going to be trying to do naval battles in here. So with China now deciding to make its fleet go all the way south, and right here's the Chinese naval area, and here's the Taiwanese. So with this happening, they decide to do some naval battles. They are able to surround the island with their ships, but then the U.S. sees this, and then over here, the US decides to join Taiwan, and then some European countries decide to join. Spain, France, Poland, Ukraine, Estonia, Finland, the UK, Germany, and Italy. So with these countries on the aid of Taiwan, but already, Taiwan's destroyed. They would be able to hold themselves out, but eventually they'll be wiped out. So with the Republic of China now fallen, we now see the Allied ships coming through, and then they're coming over here. They manage to get the Philippines, and they get Japan and South Korea. And then eventually they get into the war. And I guess the Philippines will join too. So with them, on the aid of Taiwan, they start to going up here and then trying to liberate the island. So with some liberation attempts, they are able to get to the island. But then eventually they're off to a stalemate with the Chinese on the island, and then soon they're able to surround it. And then eventually Taiwan gets liberated, and then they start holding off the island, and then soon eventually they are able to push back the Allied off of Taiwan. It just goes back and forth, but then eventually the Allies run out of material to aid Taiwan, and then eventually Taiwan falls again. And then soon the Allies ask for a peace treaty. China accepts. So let's look at the peace treaty. So here we see the full annexation of Taiwan. Yeah, so there's no more the Republic of Taiwan. There's no more the Republic of China. Now there's no need for the one China policy because there's just China. Yeah. But the second thing they're gonna do is that they're gonna try to get the South Korea and Japan out of the area. So they go over to North Korea and they try to convince them to declare war on the South. And then South Korea, it gets a declared war on by the North Koreans. And then with the aid of with the Chinese volunteers, they go over and then soon capturing Seoul, and then soon they're pushed back. But South Korea now, they are stronger, so they are able to push back. And then that's when the Japanese decide to get into the war to the aid of the South. So with the South Koreans now being able supported by Japan, they are able to push back, but then that was whenever China decides to declare war on the South. So now we have more troops coming in. Soon, South Korea gets destroyed entirely, leaving them to retreat to this island. And then soon, the island falls. So South Korea is no more. Soon, they go over to Japan and then start a naval invasion. And then soon they surround this island and starting to surround its southern part. And then with that, they started the invasion into the Japanese islands. And then with the Japanese being unprepared, they knew that with the South Korean gone, they would ask for a peace treaty, but they were unexpecting this invasion. So with now the Chinese invading Japan, we started that Japan starts sending them peace treaties, but they refuse. So with more Chinese and North Korean ships coming through, they managed to surround the whole entire island of Japan, plus these islands. And then soon, eventually, Japan falls. So, and then they both surrender. So let's look at the peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty. We see Japan being turned into a puppet state, while South Korea is now being fully annexed by the North. So, with now the Korean Peninsula under communist rule, and Japan with a communist government, they're now with on the side of Russia and on the side of China. And then eventually, with them now getting more powerful militarily and economically, they go over to Southeast Asia. And then they declare a war on Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand. So with them not as strong as China, they are good, but China's way more powerful. So then eventually they storm in, capturing Hanoi, and then I don't know where Laos's capital is, so let's just say they surrender, Vietnam surrenders, and then Thailand surrenders, Cambodia surrenders. And then eventually, since they're there, Myanmar. Never mind, they surrender. Okay, let's look at the peace treaty. So here we see the full annexation of Southeast Asia and Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, and Myanmar. So with this, they decided to look over here. And then they declare war on Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Nepal. So, with the Chinese already entering through Bangladesh, it is a little bit hard to invade it since it has a lot of people, but then eventually they fall. These two are very mountainous, so they are extremely hard to invade, probably harder than Bhutan, but then eventually they start a very slow invasion into Bhutan, and then soon, a few months later, or years, Bhutan falls. And then same thing with Nepal. They start to be invaded. A few years later, Nepal falls. So let's look at the peace treaty. So here we see the full annexation of the three countries. India sees this, and they feel like that they're being threatened, which they are. So they declare war on China, and then Pakistan joins the war on the aid of China. But the West sees this, and then they all declare war on China. This will take a while. But basically, almost the whole entire European continent declares war on China. And might as well throw in Israel. Russia sees this as a threat, so then they declare war on NATO, which brings up NATO. So yeah, it's a world war. So let's see what happens. So we see that with China declaring war on India, the West declared war on China, Russia declared war on NATO. So now all of NATO is activated. Plus some countries that aren't in NATO already declared war on Russia, so I guess they're technically in NATO. So with this world war now happening, Russia decides to bring up Belarus and Serbia into the war, and Iran too. So with this, the Allies managed to get Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Morocco, I guess Nigeria, Oman, obviously Armenia, Georgia would join. And then I think we see, I think that would be all. I don't know. I might be missing some countries, but I'll just figure it out later. But with the troops not being prepared in Europe, they start, except the countries that already declared war on Russia, they start advancing, wiping out Serbia, and wiping out Kaliningrad, and then starting an invasion into Belarus. And with this missed opportunity to close this walkie gap between the Baltics and the rest of Europe, that failed. So yeah, Belarus already falls, and then the invasion into Russia begins. And then, yeah, this part of Russia already falls, and then soon St. Petersburg is threatened, soon captured. Finland starts to go out with its special troops, and then soon they get the northern part of Russia. And then with the Chinese and some Iranians also going to Russia to defend it, they're also getting invaded. With Saudi Arabia, Omani, Israeli, and Egyptian troops coming into Iran by, I think it's called the Persian Gulf, probably? I don't know. But with the troops already landing here, they managed to cut Iran off by the water. And then they managed to climb up with Turkey, and then starting to go down. Then soon, Iran falls, and then as they surrender, they start the invasion into Pakistan. And then soon, we see many bloody kills or bloody fights in Kashmir because of Pakistan, China, India. So with this, Pakistan and China manages to encircle the Indian part, capturing Kashmir. Pakistan sends a peace treaty over to India, asking for Kashmir, but of course they refuse it. So, with the Allied troops coming down, they managed to cut Pakistan off of the water, managing to connect up with India, and then soon liberating the northern part of India. And then soon, they started going up into Kashmir, bloody battle again. Soon, Pakistan falls, and then they surrender, making the western part of Kashmir return to India. And then soon, Bangladesh is surrounded, and then this part falls over to Chinese. And then soon, this part gets liberated. And then with the Allied troops now coming over here, yeah, they managed to push them back by a lot. Not much, but still a lot. And then this part gets taken out, and then with a slow invasion into Nepal and Bhutan, they managed to pass the mountains, and then soon they managed to surround the area, soon kicking out the Chinese out of Kashmir entirely. And then over here in Russia, this whole entire part already fell a while ago. And then soon, with a few more months of advancing into Siberia, Russia surrenders. And now, over here, we see that now the Manchuria part is now being invaded. And then, eventually, they get to North Korea. Yeah, they fall. They liberate the Japanese islands, and then they start to the threatening of Beijing. And then with this, Taiwan gets liberated. And then they start heading down. And then they manage to get the panhandle of Thailand, and then soon they're about to reach the South China Sea. And then soon the Philippines join, and then Vietnam is liberated. Now it's just China. And then Tibet lets the Allies walk through their territory as they want independence from China, and then soon China surrenders. So that happened. Let's look at the peace treaty. Here's the peace treaty. We see in China, we see that Tibet was released, and we also have Xinjiang becoming independent. Over here we see nothing happening to Manchuria. Taiwan annexes the rest of China, now being the Republic of China. And then, yeah, 3 countries were brought back, which was Taiwan again, the Republic of China, South Korea, now just Korea now it's just the Republic of Korea, is no longer the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. What? Okay, now it's just Japan over here. Yeah, those 3 were now liberated, and then the communists no longer exist, except probably in Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba, and probably still some other countries, but other than that, it's just these countries now. And then over here with India, we see that Bangladesh is annexed by India for economic aid. In Southeast Asia, we see nothing happening much, except Laos and Cambodia decide to unite for economic aid. Now, Laos has no longer landlocked, and pretty much, and also here in Russia, Russia's forced us to release Siberia, and then over here nothing happened else except some city changes. Belarus and Russia is now pro-Western. Kaliningrad was split between Poland and Lithuania. Nothing happened in the north. Nothing happened in Europe. Nothing happened in the Caucasus. Iran is now in a Western puppet. Nothing happened to Israel, Egypt, Morocco, Nigeria, nothing else. And nothing happened in the Americas. So this, we see just the People's Republic of China fall, and the People's Democratic Republic of Korea also fell. Now it's just the Republic of China and Republic of Korea. I know I already said that, but who cares? But with this, we see that China could get destroyed if they try to form an empire. So hopefully y'all liked the video, and I'll see you on the next one.